Let's talk about conference realignment.
Okay.
So I saw literally this morning, and I know it's been talked about a little bit, but I saw literally this morning the first tweet about it. They're talking Oregon and Washington potentially moving to the Big Ten.
I think any conference realignment's dumb. Don't get me wrong, but I like this one.
So do you think it's dumb from the perspective of a college football fan, or the perspective of an AD at Oregon or Washington?
Oh, no. From a college football fan.
Okay.
Yeah. Because for them it's great. They're not going to go to a different conference where they don't make more money. Yeah. It's strictly business. If they're making more money in the Pac-12, they're going to stay in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
If there's a bigger deal to be had in the Big Ten, guess what? They're going to go to the Big Ten. So I can't blame them for either.
Well, look, here's the thing. This is why the SEC and the Big Ten are growing so fast.
Right?
That's because
the problem.
The SEC just added, or they will add, Texas and Oklahoma in 2025, I believe.
2024, next year.
No, not this coming season.
Not this coming season, the next
following season.
Yeah, 2024 season.
Okay, and then Ohio State's going to add USC and UCLA. And then it looks like they're going to add Oregon and Washington as well. Big 12 is expanding, but only because they're pulling up G5 teams. Yeah. So it's a different scenario. The SEC and the Big 10 are pulling teams from other Power 5 conferences.
And I think that's fair.
What?
Oh, no. The other one.
Yeah.
Okay. More so.
But the reason that's happening is because the SEC is literally with ESPN. So the SEC network is on ESPN. It's a sub-brand of ESPN. The Big 10 has a media rights contract with CBS. The Pac-12 media rights, no one.
Yeah.
They're a Power 5 college football team, bro. They're not a soccer team. And again, nothing against those sports. I think soccer's great. I don't personally, but the world likes soccer.
Yeah, people like soccer.
Like we're not talking about a college soccer team. We're not talking about a tennis team or anything like that. We're talking about a Power 5 conference college football conference.
Yeah,
like that's what
top 10 schools in there too.
That's what we're talking about, and they don't have a media rights deal. Well, hey, if I'm Oregon and Washington, if I'm the ADs over there, and I just saw two of our biggest programs in our conference just left, and we still don't have a media rights deal, I got to get out of here. I got to find somewhere that's going to support the longevity of my program. I know I'll be getting paid because my team, my school, my guys will be playing on TV week in and week out.
Yeah.
And if they
can't, we'll give y'all a show.
And if they can't ensure that as the athletic director of that program, they have an obligation to do what's best for the school.
And for the pocketbooks.
And that's go play for one of those other conferences.
So that's the issue. Like now, first of all, right, let's talk about it at a base level. Like without that first. Oregon and Washington, the Big Ten is awesome to me because it's more competition for the other big teams. I think that's going to end up being not quite the SEC, but another like fun conference to watch play out. Because right now it's super stale. It sucks that it doesn't suck that it's this way, but it's super stale with those two teams.
It's essentially Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State right now.
Yeah.
Iowa's defense is always really good, but they can't figure out what's going on with their offense.
Oh, baby.
So,
but yeah, my point is like it's and then it's basically I don't know. I don't love the dynamic of it now. I think this will help the dynamic in my opinion. Now going towards the
but then you say that you think it'll help the dynamic, but the problem is you're going to develop two super conferences, and the rest isn't going to matter.
That's what I was.
And you're going to get a team like who's the next best team over there? You're going to get a team like Utah.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to get a team like Utah, who is the best team over there, at least the best program year in and year out. Right. So they're not the most talented team, but they are the best program. They've won the Pac-12 2 years in a row now. You get a team like Utah, they're not even going to have to compete for it.
No, they run the table. They're 12-0 and they go.
They're gonna run the table where you have stacked conferences like the SEC, like the Big Ten, and Utah's going to be damn near in the playoffs every year.
Yeah,
especially with the new layout.
And Utah's a little bit different because and they're a really good football team.
Yeah.
But
and again, that's a byproduct of money. It's about the money.
It's all about the money.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Like Utah is a good example because it's Pac-12, of course, so it was the relevant example. But think about another example like let me not even give examples to ruffle any feathers. But my point is like you're going to have schools coming out of conferences that are just lame conferences getting to the playoffs and getting like murked.
Yeah.
So yes,
this was the best playoffs we've had in a long time this last year.
And even then it kind of wasn't.
But that's what I'm saying. So typically what happens in the semifinals just happened in the national championship instead.
Yeah. And so that's I don't know. I like looking at the Big Ten. I get frustrated with the Big Ten because I love competition. To me, I don't think there's enough competition. I think there's two teams that get to 11-0, and then one's 11-1, one's 12-0, and they may still both go to the playoffs. This year they did. I think that's awesome. I think tip of the cap to them for doing that. But at the same time, like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because like in the SEC, for example, you have a team that can run. LSU is a great example. You have a team that can run the table, go 15-0. But like if you don't keep true, I'm talking about real excellence, you could easily have a losing record the next year, and we saw that.
Yeah.
Because there's real competition over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Could Ohio State drop a game to Iowa? No. Like that's kind of the way I start to look. And yes, they can.
could, yeah.
But my point is like they're like no one in the
not
SEC is
Northwestern.
safe. Exactly.
Yeah.
No one in the SEC is safe the way I look at it. Like Georgia, this team I disagree with this take.
Let's say this. So Northwestern was one of the worst. Northwestern and Nebraska were two really, really bad teams in the Big Ten. The direct comparison for the SEC would be Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
But Vanderbilt's better than those teams.
Yeah, Vanderbilt beat some bowl teams.
And they're for sure the worst team in the SEC, or
Right.
at least was last year.
They're absolutely always the worst team in the SEC.
Yeah, but I'm saying in terms of worst of each conference, Vanderbilt was better than those two teams.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Now you get towards the bottom of the SEC. Let's start naming teams. Texas A&M, they beat LSU.
Right.
Right. South Carolina, they knocked off Tennessee and Clemson.
Yep.
And
Missouri almost beat Georgia.
we're at the bottom of the SEC right now. You see what I'm saying?
We're talking about teams that didn't make bowl games.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, South Carolina did, but
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's the point. Is there is competition, and yeah, the competition is lowered because there's so many elite teams in those conferences,
Yeah.
or in the SEC in particular. But yeah, Ohio State can go out and not worry about having to play North. Well, and then, the Northwestern game was a little close in the first
For
half.
Ohio State. But the point
you
is
see the
like
point, yeah.
And that's another thing too, because you're also talking about conferences being super conferences because they have so many teams. Not even talking about how good they are, just they have so many damn teams. Well, now and I don't want to really get into this because we don't have any sort of real clarity, but they're talking about doing the schedules a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I have a yawn like on the tip of my whatever, like about to yawn, but I keep like holding. It's just weird. But
Okay.
But anyway, that's why my voice was like going like that. But anyway, yeah. So like in the SEC, for example, and again, I don't want to really dive into it, but my point is like they have it set right now that it's. Well, you'd probably say it better than me. How does the SEC schedule work?
Right now?
Yeah. So you play your division.
You play every single player in every single team in your division once, and then you get two. You draw two teams from the opponent.
And then you get your 3-9.
You have one cross-conference opponent every year. So, like, for example, Alabama's is Tennessee.
Yeah.
LSU's is Florida.
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Right. They're starting to want to change that because they're about to have 16 teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
So it's getting to a point where it's like.
So it'll move to potentially. This is what I've heard. It'll move to three yearly opponents.
Right.
So you'll play 3 teams in the conference every single year, and then it'll be a 6-team rotation. So you play 9 conference games.
Right. It's just that, and then you run into a situation where you have teams in the same conference, sometimes in the same damn state, that you don't play. You play once every 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, dude, come on, man. Like, when you could have it be, all right, round robin. Let's see how many of y'all can beat your conference, and whoever does the best. You
don't even play 16 games.
Exactly.
Even if you go undefeated and play in a conference championship, a semifinal, and a national championship, that's 15 games.
Yeah.
So you can't. I mean, that would literally take the entire season with the postseason to play your conference.
But at least you could get everyone in 2 years.
And then in the Big Ten, you could get everyone in 2 years. And then in the Big Ten, they're already adding USC and UCLA. If they add Oregon and Washington, well, now they're to 18 teams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's 139 Division I football teams. You're talking about 16 plus 18. That's what, 34?
Yeah.
35, something like that? 34? 34. Yeah, I mean math, you know what I mean? But
you had it right the first time.
But yeah, 34. I mean, that's
it's an issue.
20 something percent of the entire landscape of Division I football are in 2 conferences.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. And they need to it's still called the Big Ten. They're at 18 teams, bro.
Well, they're
I'm
not.
not saying they need to change. I know, but but at some point it's like, okay, we had it just throws everything out. And hey, honestly, at this point it's like, okay, screw Northwestern and those kind of teams is basically what they're doing because, hey, you didn't have a chance before because we have these powerhouses. Now it's basically like drop those damn teams down to Power 5. And I'm down to Group of 5, or make them a new freaking conference. Send those teams because if you want to do it that way, we'll do it like the AFC and the NFC. The SEC teams will get out, and go to the playoffs. The Big Ten teams will get out and go to the playoffs. That'll be the playoffs. Everyone else compete for spots to try to get into one of those conferences.
Yeah.
That is sad as shit, but that's what it's going to.
That is what it's going to.
So, I mean, and then you'll get Utah because they're the best of the those teams.
Which, by the way, if those 4 teams leave the Pac-12, which already has 10 teams, that'll be down to a 6-team conference.
The Pac-12.
The Pac-12. Half of what its name has. Now, I will say the Big 12, with losing Texas and Oklahoma and adding
BYU,
Houston, Cincinnati, and I said Houston already.
Houston, Cincinnati, Houston, right?
Yeah.
Houston, Cincinnati, BYU.
And help me.
I'm trying. UCF, baby.
UCF,
Come on.
UCF.
I love that, though.
With adding those 4 teams, they get back to 12. So let's go.
That's massive for them. They're like, hey, we got to change it. Nah, y'all can come on. And then they're like, we don't need to change it. But so no, like that's what it's turning into. It's you ready for this comparison?
Go ahead.
You're gonna hate this.
Go ahead.
It's like politics.
Oh God, this is not gonna end well.
The only way you can win an election in America right now is if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's almost like it sounds dumb, but it's like seriously. Because you're gonna have other people that are winning 10 games, that are winning but it doesn't matter because they're not only are they winning conferences that are not super conferences. Utah, for example, again, great football team, so it's a little bit different, but they're gonna have beaten no one. There is a chance that we're gonna start getting even more so now than it is, even more so coming up than it is now. We're gonna get 2-loss playoff teams that are not conference champions.
Yeah.
We're gonna get those teams like LSU almost was this year. Over even sometimes, because these conferences are starting to have no merit, a Utah who's undefeated, conference champion.
Yeah.
Or if they drop a game, sorry, if you drop a game and win your conference, you're 9 times out of 10 in.
Yeah.
But not if your conference sucks. Well, Utah has nothing to do with that.
Well, that's the thing, bro. I mean, it's gonna get to a point. If those 4 teams leave the Pac-12, you're gonna have to see a Troy and a Tulane and those kind of teams join a Pac-12. Because Utah being a conference champion of the Pac-12 with only 6 teams, their best wins are going to be Colorado, Washington State, Arizona State.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
So that is a perfect example. Since we saw it with Cincinnati and UCF and not so much Houston and them. Those teams are accustomed to winning a shit ton of football games.
Yeah.
They know for a fact that they are not getting in the playoffs, and well, Cincinnati did, but there's a way better shot to get in if they're in a Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
What do? They go to the Power 5. You got to play with the big boys to get in.
Yeah.
You're going to see the same thing with this BS, and you are seeing it with this BS. I understand the reason is because of the money and stuff, but what's going to end up happening is, yeah, you're in a Power 5 conference. That's awesome. You can win a Power 5 conference, but you haven't played with the big boys. So basically, of the Power 5, it's like, okay, if you're good in here, you're good. But then you're making this offshoot of these 2 conferences. You got to be good in here to begin now.
Yeah.
So then it's like
that's exactly
everyone is playing for their bid to get in the Power 5. I love it. Now you're going to be playing for your bid to get in one of these conferences because that's who's getting in.
Yeah, and so the Power 5 is going to lose its merit.
Absolutely.
Because the big boys from the Big 12, the big boys from the Pac-12, potentially the ACC. Notre Dame's not even in a conference. I don't know.
And them, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes them. But
it's like, why? They're a vowel here and there.
Yeah.
And sometimes Notre Dame.
But yeah, so if all the big boys from the Power 5 conferences go to the Big 10 and the SEC, well, now is the Pac-12 even Power 5 anymore?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then Tulane gets in, they literally beat USC.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
It's going to turn into the fact that because the reality of it is we'll take TCU out for just this argument.
You get an App State in, they beat Texas A&M.
Yeah, Marshall beat freaking Michigan State.
Yeah, exactly.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
But so this is it, right? The best 6 teams in college football are going to end up being in those conferences, SEC and Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You're going to have we'll call it, well, there's a couple outliers, but my point is there's a real shot that the 6 or 7 or maybe even 8, and I know it sounds crazy, best teams in college football in 3 years will be in those conferences. Mm-hmm. Well, then you're going to have a New Year's 6 and 2. Then it's the NFL.
Yeah.
It's the NFL. So it's just dumb. It's just dumb, especially when they expand the playoffs, bro.
And that's a great full circle moment. And then I guess maybe they should go to running clock.
Yeah, exactly. Make it 2 feet to catch. I mean, whatever it is, got to survive the ground. I mean, damn, bro.
Thanks for watching that clip. You can check out another in the top left-hand corner or the bottom right-hand corner. You can always subscribe as well to this channel or to Cards and Culture. That's linked as well. That's going to be our long-form content.
Yeah, make sure to check out the Discord in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, and we can keep this thing free forever.